Welcome to episode 2 of the McQuaid Mission. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Chris Coraggio with the Social Television Network. This series was created, of course, to continue Mike McQuaid's mission to end homelessness here in the Valley. It's a daunting task, takes a lot of help from so many in our community, but Big Mo always said it is a solvable problem. We just have to work together. And that's why we're honored to have the Human Services Campus as our partner in this series. The executive director over there is Amy Schwabenlender, who is also now the co-host of this McQuaid Mission. She's going to be doing most of the heavy lifting in this series, if you will. And today's guests for Amy are Father Dan PONISCIAK from Andre House and CLEO Lewis, a community advocate for the Human Services Campus. So a lot of important content will be discussed over the next half hour or so. But before we get to everything, let me tell you a little bit about how and where you can find all this type of content. All of it, mostly dealing with aspects of leadership in our community, is available on our STN app. You can download it on Google Play or the App Store. We're busy updating our STN app with content just like this every day, so please check it out. All right, let's get started. I want to immediately send it over to Amy because she's got a lot to get to in campus news, including information on a very important upcoming Phoenix City Council hearing that hopefully will result in the go-ahead for more beds to be available on campus. Amy?
Thank you, Chris. Yes, we passed the 2-year anniversary of submitting an application to the City of Phoenix to add shelter beds. We have a few quick slides to run through today. As promised, we'll always share a little bit of data, and we will work on covering homelessness from A to Z, which includes this fantastic array of partner organizations, all 16 of us working together every day to end homelessness in our community. If we can go to the next slide. We had to file a permit to be able to shelter more people because in the city of Phoenix, there's lots of vocabulary and definition that goes along with zoning, and the campus is located in what's called A1 industrial area. However, we're under what's also called a capital mall overlay because we're close to state government, city, county government. We have to have a special permit in order to shelter people and to provide them food service. When the campus opened in 2005, the only requirement, the only stipulation in the special permit that was issued from the city was a maximum number of shelter beds of 425 and a site plan, which is really just a map or a drawing showing what's included in that special permit. A lot has changed since the campus opened in 2005. We'll talk about a couple of things. That chart, again, we might show this chart every episode of the McQuaid Mission because it is a slice of data. It's a point in time count, the PIT count, and this shows the dramatic, staggering increase in the unsheltered population since 2015. Along with that, here in Phoenix, we've had rapid population growth. Phoenix continues to be one of the fastest growing cities in the U.S. We have an underproduction of housing, especially affordable housing, meaning housing that people can afford and still pay all of their bills. And income has not increased and kept up with the cost of living. While all of this is going on, the county owned the property the Human Services Campus sits on until October of 2017. And with that dynamic, it can put us in a different position to look at how to shelter more people. Next slide. We also always want to remember that homelessness is a regional issue. What I'm going to talk about is our request does not solve this unsheltered population. All of those green dots represent people that were counted on a point in time in 2020. And it demonstrates homelessness is everywhere. It's not only a downtown Phoenix issue. It's certainly not an issue that the Human Services Campus and our partners can solve by ourselves. What we're proposing, though, is a small solution to shelter several hundred more people every night. Next slide. The language of our request involves math, which I think last episode we talked math too. And when we talk data, we have to talk math. The language change we're asking for is to shelter a maximum of 1,000 individuals compared to that stipulation currently of 425. So the amendment would allow us to shelter up to 700 people in CAS, the shelter operated by Central Arizona Shelter Services. There is a certificate of occupancy for that building for 700. And our partner Andre House has a vacant building that could shelter 100 people. Our request really is to be able to shelter 800 people every single night, 365 nights a year, and to allow for weather relief for another 200 people when there's extreme heat, freeze warnings, rain overnight. And we have the ability to let people sleep inside in St. Vincent de Paul's dining room or the day room of our Lodestar Day Resource Center. How can people help then? Because we're at the finish line. Our hearing is this Wednesday, February 3rd. It's all online these days with City of Phoenix via WebEx. You can find more information on the phoenix.gov website, and you can also follow our campaign to add beds at fromstreettohome.org. There's multiple ways to get involved. It's not too late today, Monday, to send a letter to mayor and council, to sign a petition, and to subscribe to an email. We're really looking for as many people as possible to support our request to send supportive comments in for the city staff and the city council and mayor to read. We can't do it alone. One of our partners is here with me today. That is Father Dan PONISCIAK, Executive Director at the Andre House of Hospitality.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
It is afternoon.
It is afternoon.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks for being on the second episode of the McQuaid Mission.
You're welcome. It's a privilege.
Would you mind sharing with everyone watching a little bit about what Andre House does?
Yeah, I love talking about what Andre House does. It's a beautiful mission. It's a beautiful mission to be a part of. We're first and foremost a house of hospitality. As a house of hospitality, we welcome people. That's what we do. We take great pride in getting to know people's names. We take great pride in getting to know people's stories. And then as a result of getting to know people and where they're at in terms of experiencing homelessness, then we can provide them with much needed services. So our main service that we provide is our evening meal service, in which right now we're serving about 500 to 600 meals 6 nights a week. We have a team of volunteers that come in to prepare those meals and serve those meals. And we try and keep them as healthy as possible for our friends experiencing homelessness. We also run a clothing closet several days a week, in which we're able to get 40 to 50 people in to get new clean clothes to wear, as well as providing people with a place to shower in a very dignified way. We have private spaces for people to shower within our building. It's one of the few times that people have the ability to close a door and feel like nobody's going to intrude on them for about 10 minutes. And it focuses on the importance of the dignity of all people. And our mission is very much to provide dignity to those we serve, to meet people where they're at and to get to know them, and to offer a place, a safe place, a home, if you will, for a period of time during the day.
I think the hospitality word in your name might be the most important word, and we all shorten it to Andre House. So the hospitality piece is what I see as most different. We're on the McQuaid Mission show. If you don't mind, could you also talk a little bit about Mike McQuaid and the role he had with Andre House and the effect maybe he had on you or the Andre House programs, anything you'd like to share?
I mean, Mike was involved early on. Andre House started serving food out of the back of a pickup truck. Mike wandered up with a group of confirmation kids from one of the parishes and started volunteering that way. The impact that he had, it was his personalism. It's his ability just to talk to people and to talk to them with a general interest in their life, and that personalism of carrying forward that, you know, each person is unique and each person has a story, and each person has that dignity. And so his legacy will carry on with us because of that love that didn't judge, the love that he genuinely had for each person that he encountered. I mean, I only knew Mike for a short period of time, so I can only say that I never felt like I was ever, judged or any kind of question about who I was or where I was. He welcomed me into the team, and that's what I appreciated the most.
Definitely. After all these years, decades, right, of Andre House being open, 36 years, why would Andre House want to add a shelter component?
You know, Andre House has been known to respond to the need. So the reason Andre House is even in existence is because they saw a need and responded. And so this team of volunteers and early Holy Cross priests, they saw a need that people were hungry And so as a result, they started serving food. Andre House stepped in when they saw a need. So we had the resources to purchase a building, and we have the ability to potentially shelter people because there's a definitive need. There's a crisis outside of our gates. And so as a result of that, we stepped in and we offered to be a part of a solution that will at least be a solution for potentially about 100 people in our building.
Father Dan, it's been quite a journey working on this shelter application together, and you talked to a lot of different organizations, gave a lot of consideration into selecting someone to help operate that shelter space, since it's not Andre House's experience to run shelter. Could you tell us a little bit about the partner who agreed to work with you?
Yeah, we agreed with Community Bridges, and we agreed with Community Bridges for a couple of reasons. One being the emphasis on dignity. As I stated before, Andre House is very much founded on focusing on the dignity of all people. Community Bridges was founded on those same principles, the same principles of the dignity of the person, compassion for the individual. And so we wanted to find a partner that shared that vision, and Community Bridges was the right one for that. In addition to that, though, Andre House serves a lot of people who are suffering, a lot of people who are highly vulnerable, a lot of people that suffer from severe mental illness and addiction, and Community Bridges serves that population. And so it made the most sense to us to partner with an agency that does what we do in encountering the most vulnerable and offering services to help those individuals. So we're very excited to partner with Community Bridges, very excited to move forward with our two organizations linked together in this way. And we're looking forward to the impact that Community Bridges will have on so many lives within our neighborhood.
Well, thank you. Thanks for joining me today. Thanks for being a committed partner to our collective work to end homelessness. And Chris, hopefully you're starting to see how we all really do work together, and that's part of Mike's vision was the collaboration and the spirit of partnership and not duplicating services, and we are very fortunate to have that with Andre House and Community Bridges.
And that connection to Andre House, like Father talked about with Mike, with Big Mo, it's a no-brainer because that's where he started his service, if you will, way back in 1984. All right, Amy, we're going to check back in with you in just a moment, but now we want to take a couple of minutes to feature Joe Medina's story. Now, Joe had a very tough life. He began abusing drugs as a teenager. He was in and out of jail for decades. When he was out, he spent a lot of his time living on the street, struggling with those addictions. He couldn't get out of that vicious cycle until he embraced all that the Human Services campus had to offer him. Now, Joe's life is an inspiring success story.
I started institutional life at the age basically of 13. So I didn't have a whole lot of life before that, but as a kid, I've been in and out since I was 13, approximately 1977, and I discharged parole in 2008. I became homeless because of my incarcerations. I came to the campus in approximately 1998. Over a period of 10 years, I was stumbling around my addictions that led to the incarcerations and the behavior to support those addictions. The lowest parts of my life always were set against the backdrop of why I'm on the streets, and I would have to reflect on criminal activity, addiction. The Human Services campus, for me, allowed me a place to be myself. And as I was learning who I was to become, who I am, I really had to relearn who I was and feel good about it. I feel comfortable expressing myself that way. The campus, I utilized almost everything. I took part in my ID, my Social Security card. St. Joseph, the work was involved. Homeless court. The homeless court provided a place for me to actually address the various representatives, from law enforcement all the way over to administrators of the campus. And that was a big thing for me, because I was because in institutions I lived a very aggressive life. and and then you come out here and you're just still doing it. So I had to basically put down that mentality, that lifestyle, those responses. I started as a volunteer around 2008 until 2013, and then I came back as a part-time worker in 2015, I believe it was. And I'm currently full-time in this mailroom right now. I have been full-time for about a year, and it's a very new life, and I do enjoy it. My life right now is pretty much open, so I'm very blessed to be working here. I recognize that, and I'm grateful. The campus and I have had a long history, or at this point already, it's almost 20 years. I'm just grateful that the campus has always existed in one shape or another, because they're here to provide help. Is a blessing. It's a blessing. I'm just glad somebody was thinking about it.
Such a genuine story right there. And again, an inspiration to hear Joe's turnaround thanks to the Human Services Campus. Okay, let's get back to Amy now, because Amy is now joined by a gentleman who knows a lot about the Human Services Campus, just like Joe, and he knows about the importance of additional beds, like Amy was talking about with Father. So Amy, take it away.
Thanks, Chris. Yes, I have with me CLEO Lewis, who has a vague introduction because you have so many different life experiences. Rather than me put a label on you or introduce you in one category, would you start sharing some of your experiences that have led you to being this strong advocate for ending homelessness?
Wow, first, thanks for having me and allowing me just to represent some of my experience with the Human Services Campus. My name is CLEO Lewis, and everybody talks about the many hats in life I've worn. I'm a veteran, I'm a former Phoenix police officer, and I'm also a convict. And all of those hats kind of blended together in the course of life, and it ended up resulting in me being at the Human Services Campus being homeless. And as a result of that, I came to need particularly almost every single tenant or client resource that we could gather together to help me get my life back together.
Right. And you told me one brief story you had about Mike McQuaid. Again, we're on the McQuaid Mission. So are you comfortable sharing with our viewers today how you met Mr. McQuaid?
Yes, I will. I was getting ready to exit the east side of the campus, and I was carrying a big duffel bag. My intention was to go visit a staff agency attached to Andre House to get a bus pass. And I had an emotional meltdown, and it's almost embarrassing to think about, but during the course of homelessness, emotional meltdowns do occur. And I had been carrying this big bag. It's a military duffel bag because I was a veteran in the veterans program. And I took the bag and I threw it across the street. It created quite a commotion.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get the bus pass that I needed, and I just lost it then. And I just saw myself carrying this big bag all day, and I was tired of carrying that bag. And a gentleman walked up to me, and he just very personable. "Hi, my name is Mike. Can I help you?" And I turned around, and I have a hearing problem. And I said, "Mike who?" And he says, "Mike McQuaid." And it didn't register to me. I didn't know him, but he was so kind. He asked me what was going on. And he was the first person that gave me enough dignity to explain what was going on rather than reacting to the result of what was happening. And we had a conversation. I told him I couldn't get a bus pass, and I pointed at the place, and I said, "I've been carrying this heavy bag, and I've been here for all of these months and nothing's happening." And he said, "If you could give me a moment, let me walk over and talk to them." it was incredible for me because he advocated for me, and I didn't have anyone that actually looked at me enough as an individual to speak on my behalf, and he did that. And he walked over and he said, there's some things I think I can change, but would you be patient enough because I may not be able to do it today? And he was honest with me. And he told me if I could come back tomorrow, there would be a bus pass for me. And then he actually took care of the reason why I was carrying a big bag. It gets emotional.
It's okay. Take your time. It's all right.
He opened up a storage facility on the Human Services campus for homeless people just like me to store their property where you don't have to carry every single thing that you own in life that's precious to you with you.
Right.
And that spoke volumes to me. And I never remembered who the person was, but as I journeyed through the campus, every time I saw him, he greeted me. And it was part of restoring my individual dignity that really helped me in my journey away from homelessness.
And now you do live like Mike, and you help advocate for all of the others we serve at the campus and in Phoenix.
That's the privilege of it.
Yeah.
I have the privilege of being able to return back to the campus, and my job is I get to walk around. And I'm looking to greet people and to encourage and encounter people, and some people at the worst part of what they're dealing with, just to let them know that we may not be able to fix that today, but boy, are we working on it.
Right. And now we're working this week to be able to shelter more people. From your experience, and you stayed at CAS, can you tell people why it's so important to have access to a safe bed in a shelter instead of being unsheltered somewhere on the streets?
Well, the Human Services campus provides something very unique. Not just the shelter bed at CAS, but it was the wraparound services that I need to be able to go across the street at Andre House. And the idea that Andre House is meeting the need for a shelter to provide additional. We're not asking to build a new building. We're just respectfully asking the community to allow us to increase capacity to serve the people that I encounter a lot on the outside, the unsheltered community that's homelessness, that don't have the opportunity to benefit from the services that the Human Services campus provided to me.
Right.
I'm looking for the next CLEO Lewis out there.
Way
And we
cool.
need your help out there in the community to find them
Yeah.
and get them some help.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing and being with us today. It means a lot to me that you would tell your story with everyone watching.
Thank you so much, and thanks to the community for your support that we're counting on.
Yeah. And when CLEO talks about the people unsheltered, recently our cross-partner team did a count and a survey and found over 470 people unsheltered. And so as CLEO talks about, we can provide all these services in one place at this campus. The thing we can't do for everyone is shelter every single person. And Chris, that's why this is such a big deal for us this week. Hopefully when we're back with you again, we'll be celebrating and talking about how we're going to start to shelter more people.
I was just going to say that in 2 weeks, hopefully there's great news that you're going to pass along to the viewers about this big hearing this week. So really, really important. So I'm glad we kind of focused on that this entire episode. We're not done yet. But again, CLEO, what a story about Mike McQuaid, and that's just the kind of person he was. And now it's funny the way CLEO kind of emphasized that now he is he is being like Mike, and he's looking for the next CLEO Lewis. I just think that was very eloquent the way he put that. So I guess it's important right now to mention again about Mike McQuaid and the inspiration for this series and how it's so special for all of us working on this show. Because like so many of you, like CLEO, like Father Dan, like everyone, Big Mo is such a constant inspiration in all of our lives. And doing this series is a way for us to celebrate his life each and every episode. Speaking of episodes, again, we tape these, we make them available every other Monday. So our next episode is scheduled for February 15th. But before we kind of check out for today, we're starting a new segment. I guess this is episode 2, so we're still kind of getting organized here. But we're starting a new segment. We're calling it MythBusters. And we even have some nice animation here. But what we're going to try to do with this is we're going to try to talk about some myths in regards to the plight of those living on the street and what it actually takes to achieve the goal of ending homelessness. And since we have Amy as our co-host, she's the expert. She's being like Mike every single day. This is what she does every single day. So, Amy, we're going to ask you questions every week, or maybe one question where you can give some advice, maybe bits of information, something like that. So today, let's talk about something that we all sort of encounter each and every day on the Phoenix roadways. You're stopped at a light, big intersection. You look to your right or to your left, and odds are there is someone there standing on the corner holding a sign saying, we'll work for food, need money, God bless, that sort of thing. We're all very, very familiar with that. And the myth is that there are only two options. The one option is ignore, look straight ahead, wait till the light turns green, then you go. Or you roll down the window and you give some money. Those are the only two options. That's a myth, right, Amy? What else is there?
That's a myth, and a myth I hear frequently that everyone who panhandles is a person experiencing homelessness. And that's simply not true. There are a lot of people who panhandle and aren't experiencing homelessness. They have a home. And so by giving people money, some folks do that as a way of having a job. And you're right, you don't have to give money. Someone early on in my career suggested, Amy, if you're going to give someone money, think of it like you gave them a gift and have no expectation of what's going to happen with it. And so I think some people tell me they don't want to give money because they're putting an expectation on it and they want to tell that person how they can go spend it. And so my suggestion would be, if you're going to give someone money, treat it like a gift. And here's a gift of $1, whatever you hand over, and have no expectation of what that person's going to do with it. And there are other things that people can hand out when it's hot here in Phoenix, like it is most months of the year. A fresh, cold bottle of water, a pair of socks, a bus pass. CLEO talked about the importance of a bus pass. Just getting from appointment to appointment transportation is important. If you are the kind of person who likes to hand something out, those are really practical things that you can keep with you. We also have a downloadable card on our website, hsc-az.org, that people can print and take along with them. And it has a map of the campus. It lists all the free services that we provide. And so if you don't want to give people something of value, you can also print these cards and hand them out to people so they learn about the services at the campus and how they can connect with us so that we can help them end their homelessness.
Great ideas, Amy. That's exactly what we're looking for, just other options when it comes to something like that. So we appreciate it. Okay, that's going to do it for today. We want to thank Father Dan. We want to thank CLEO for joining us here and reminding us all to be like Mike. We're going to see you February 15th for the next edition of the McQuaid Mission.